thing.
Right.
Is it acceptable for him to have a fender bender? Probably. I'm not going to get mad at my mayor for having a, rear-ending someone, really.
Right.
Is it okay to jaywalk? Is it okay to shoplift? Is it okay to assault someone? Is it okay to steal something, to commit fraud, to embezzle? At what point do you say that is okay, but that's not okay? We all have our personal judgments inside. We're all going to say, for me, this is tolerable, but this is not. And this is where I'm coming from. I'm saying for something like assault, this is not tolerable.
Right.
But that being said, many, many, many different activities that are considered minor and probably a non-issue are still crimes. And something needs to be put into effect when you swear a public official into office, because they are representing their elected bosses, their elected citizens. There needs to be some fail-safe that every other company has, your doctor has. I mean, lawyers have to answer to a governing agency. A lawyer just can't do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that one.
I'm not. But it's true. But I mean, you see lawyers, they get disbarred all the time. They have sanctions put on them. They have their law licenses taken away. Doctors malpractice.
Okay, well,
just,
here's the only problem I have with your idea. I think it's a great idea. It would be wonderful to put this in writing when the city councilors, city politicians, whether it be provincial, municipal, federal, whatever, when they get elected into public office and represent a larger majority than themselves, they should probably sign in there that if I commit a crime, then I'm out of office. The problem with that is, Laila, if we put that into law, who's actually going to want to run for mayor? Or we're going to have a lot of people that don't run our cities and countries anymore, because a lot of maybe this is an unfair generalization, but a lot of people feel that the politicians that are currently running things are all kind of guilty of some sort of crime somewhere along the way. And
really, that is true. But you know what?
Who would run the city of Port Coquitlam if we knew that if you committed a crime, you'd be out? I mean, who would want to put themselves?
Somebody with principles. Because tell me, in your circle of friends, and you think about this, everybody individually, you think about all the people you know. How many people, now unless you're in a gang or I don't know who you hang out with, maybe you're like, we can't even go there, but I mean, how many people do you really know that have criminal records and commit criminal acts on a regular basis, especially people who are in politics? Now, everybody calls politics criminal. We all vilify the politicians. Oh, my God, look at this, what they're doing now. I mean, you open up the Vancouver Sun or the province every single day, and it's almost surprising if you can't find some sort of smear campaign going on against the politicians.
Right.
Because that's just what we do. That's what we do. We elect people and we love to run them into the ground. It's kind of like a hobby in Canada.
That's true, actually. It is a hobby.
There you go.
One of my favorites, actually.
People will always run for office. There's always someone out there. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, having an oath like this, putting a condition like this into an oath will make someone think. Scott's young, this is not a new thing. I mean, he can say that, this is not a pattern, but it's happened twice. And we don't know. We don't know what happened in all the years before that. We don't know. Because what if charges were state? What if there were many different incidents in an individual's life that we didn't know about? Things that weren't brought to press, things that weren't reported to the police. We don't know that. But that being said, if that individual knows that, being convicted of a crime or being caught in the course of a criminal act is going to be reasons for being dismissed, it's going to make them think twice about running for office. It's not going to stop really good people with good morals and principles, whatever, from running for office. It's going to stop those who might have something to worry about.
I just don't know that that's true. I mean, I would like to think, there are a lot of really principled people out there that would like to do that. But the more conditions you apply, the more dangerous you make it sound. I mean, it's bad enough right now that when you're a politician, you're going to get cameras in your face 24/7. You're under public scrutiny. Everything you do becomes public fodder. And it worries me that, that's the only flaw I can find in your idea, which I agree, and I think it should be done. But objectively, I look at that and I say to myself, I'm a pretty principled guy. I'm not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I've never said I was. I don't think I'd make a particularly good mayor myself personally. I've got a temper problem, and if I did, I'd make everyone have mullets. But aside from that, what I would be nervous about, some guy getting in my face at a council meeting, violating my personal space. This happened to Tim. I get mad, I push the guy down, I say something bad, I punch him in the face, and all of a sudden, for something that I didn't start, an incident I didn't provoke, I'm out of a job because it says in Laila's law, if you will, that every time I commit a crime, I practically tend my resignation. Is that what we've come to, you think? It's kind of all or nothing?
What's the alternative? What's the alternative, really? Look what we've got now. We've got Scott Young sitting in his marriage chair, happy as a clam. Really? I mean, what's the alternative? There's got to be some recourse. There has to be something that can be done to avoid being a situation like this. All it takes is one situation. In law, all it takes is one precedent for every other lawyer to jump on that and say, look at that, that's a precedent.
That's true.
But you know what? We're setting a precedent here, and it's not a good precedent. What message is this sending to everybody out there? I got some feedback on my website from a reader today who said that, and I'll read this. It said, I have had
Sure.
the unpleasant experience of watching our POCO judges further the criminal education of many, many youths by sentencing them to jail time for even one simple assault between peers. Young committed two in this case. Why is he not going to jail? Time served 9 days, credit for 18. I have already heard kids around here say, if you want to beat people up, just get elected. Physical violence for young has proven to be a very effective way for him to deal with the women in his life. Someone explain that to my son, please.
And how do we do it? How do we explain that?
Yeah, you can.
No.
How do you explain that? I mean, I'm a mother of 3. I've got one on the way. How do you explain that? How do you explain that to your kids, why some person can get away with it and other people can't?
You're talking about precedents. One of the people in my chat room here tonight, unusually behaving himself, pointed out that there is a precedent set. His name is Gordon Campbell.
I know, that's what I mean. We had a precedent set with Gordon Campbell. However, a difference in his case is the crime actually occurred, in a different country, on another continent. I mean, he was in Hawaii. And what did he end up doing? I think it was the very day that he was arrested, he issued a press release saying, this is what's happened. This is where I am. I'm very, very sorry. I'm going to plead guilty. I'll never do this again.
Yes.
Yours truly, Gordon Campbell. I'll be available for press and media on XX time on XX day.
Right.
He gets back. We hear this story about this was wrong. Oh, I should have never done this. Oh my gosh, I've voluntarily taken alcohol counseling. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. But really, what happened to him? What happened to him? He paid a fine. Who cares? And everybody said, oh, it was a very human mistake to make. Okay, now honestly, let's talk honestly. At some point, probably everybody we know, if you want to really be honest, has maybe stepped into a vehicle and maybe driven with maybe too much alcohol in their blood limit. Where, maybe you think your judgment isn't impaired, but if you were pulled over, you might be, blowing over the limit. And how did he get to stay in office? I don't know. I'm not a Gordon Campbell fan. I would love to see him out, but look at him. He's still here. He's still practicing. Look at all the little things that are going on in the government right now. Oh, everybody's talking about Ken Bell. Oh, we're talking about, what's the other guy? Help me out here. The property developer.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. John Van Dongen stepped in his shoes to fill in for the time being. I mean, there's all sorts of innuendo. There's all sorts of possibly, white-collar criminal acts going on. We've got the Bazzy Burke trial going on, the biggest media ignored story of the year. If that ever comes to completion and conclusion, we may not have a government left in Columbia with everybody that's going to
No,
down.
That's true.
Come on, you should be dedicating like a whole, once-a-week episode just to the Clinton and Bazzy Burke, because you're not going to hear about it anywhere else. You walk down the street and say, hey, who's Bazzy Burke? I don't know. Is that some sort of Indo-Canadian, rock band? They don't know.
No, they don't. That's a good point. But no, I mean, you're right. There's a precedent set, and I don't know what the correct solution is. What I do know is that the situation we have in POCO is very, very unfortunate.
And so how are postal people going to handle this? I mean, it was interesting what Patrick said previously.
Patrick thinks they're going to vote for him again.
Well, you know what? You can never underestimate the stupidity of people. And I mean, God knows, probably I'll get tons of hate mail over that one. And I'm not trying to target POCO residents.
No, you should, though.
But